Hi there, and welcome to Thursday night. It is Facebook Live, real life edition, and I have a special guest tonight. I'm super excited. This is my good friend and my client, Melinda Moore. Super excited about our topic tonight. I work with a lot of people and I get a lot of interesting questions and thoughts. And one of the things, topics that comes up a lot, especially when people are really struggling with weight, is, whether or not some sort of bariatric surgery is right for them. So tonight we're actually going to talk about some of the questions you probably should ask yourself if that's something that you're thinking about. Now, this is not scientific. This is not anything. We're not coming from a doctor's perspective. We're actually coming from the perspective of someone who's actually been through it, and some tips that she might have for you in order to have the best outcome from the situation possible. So, Malik, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I have been married to my husband Barry for about 30 years now. Actually, it'll be 30 years in December. And we have 5 kids, 4 grandkids, and one very spoiled lab retriever named Angel.
Awesome.
So,
and I know that you work a fairly busy job.
I do. I work a very busy job. I'm an HR business partner and with an insurance company.
Okay.
And based out of Seattle, and I cover Seattle and I cover Las Vegas, so I do a lot of traveling.
She does.
And I've been doing HR for about almost 30 years now.
Wow.
So,
that's and I know she's busy because I know we try to schedule stuff and she's a little bit of everywhere. But I will say that she is awesome at making sure she still gets her workouts in and making sure that she's got her food available, and so I'm super proud of her for that. So that's pretty exciting. But so tell us a little bit about why you chose to have, and you're gonna tell us about the type of surgery that you have as well. But tell us a little bit about why you chose to have surgery.
I chose to have surgery because I had tried numerous things. I've done Weight Watchers. I've done Jenny Craig. I've done, I think it was Nutrisystem, all of those things.
Yeah.
I used to be very active when I was much younger and never had a weight issue. I got older, life happened. I don't have the best genes going for me in terms of health. I've got heart disease on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And at the point that I chose to do bariatric surgery, it was to save my life.
Right.
I was headed down a very bleak path in terms of heart health and just overall health, and wasn't moving like I should be, and certainly was not eating like I should be. So I chose that to save my life.
Okay.
I researched the various different options that were available out there. My sister had bariatric surgery, the vertical gastrectomy, about almost 4 years now, and she was kind of my inspiration. My sister Claudia was my inspiration behind this. I watched her drop her weight and saw that she made some significant changes with her health, and decided that, okay, I'm going to explore this.
Okay.
And there were really only 2 options for me personally, and that was what they call the Roux Y, which is a gastric bypass, where they actually bypass the stomach. We call it rerouting the plumbing inside.
Right.
And then the gastric sleeve surgery, which is what I had, and they actually removed 2/3 of the stomach, and the resulting pouch is what they call it. The resulting stomach that's left is about the size of a banana.
Okay.
And
interesting.
so there's it restricts obviously the amount of food that you can take in, and you learn through surgery that there are certain foods you can no longer eat, or that you can eat, but you will pay for it afterwards.
Absolutely. So what kind of things did the doctor have you do, or what kind of things helped you prepare for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the doctor has certain things, the insurance company has certain things. So the insurance says that you, in order to be a candidate for it, or be eligible and receive approval, 6 months prior to any surgery, there are certain things you have to go through. You have to have a psych evaluation. You have to do a sleep study. You have to get an EKG. And in my case, I not only had an EKG, I had a stress and echo test, which was further solidified my decision to move forward with bariatric surgery. You had to have an upper endoscopy as part of that as well, because they needed to determine if you've got any gastric reflux things going on for ulcers that you may not be aware of, because that in part determines the types of surgery that you can have. My doctor also required 3 visits with a dietitian or nutritionist prior to surgery.
Smart.
2 visits with the nurse practitioner, and I actually had 2 visits with my surgeon, one at the very beginning, and then my surgery pre-op, which was 2 weeks, about 2 weeks prior to surgery.
So it entails quite a bit to be prepared for that, and they want to make sure that you're really ready on multiple levels.
Absolutely. Right? And my surgeon, they also offered a support group that they encourage you to. It wasn't mandatory to go to. I didn't attend because I lived out of town because it was over in Seattle, and I don't live in that area, so
gotcha.
I didn't attend. But for somebody who may need the support group, it was great because you've got people who are pre-surgery, post-surgery, people who are just thinking about it, and it. Plus, they had social workers and different people to assist you in that process.
Well, and even just having people that are kind of on the same page, and you can kind of, just like any sort of issues that you want to know that you're not alone, and you might be able to get some great tools or tips.
Absolutely.
From real life people that have been through the situation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And the other thing for me is that your weight loss surgeons will tell you that this is a lifetime commitment. Once you have these types of surgeries, they're not reversible. They are permanent. So it's as much a mind game as it is a physical game. I made the commitment if I was going to do this, I was going to make the changes for the rest of my life. I did the minimum 5% weight loss that was recommended. It wasn't required. I couldn't gain weight in order to qualify for surgery. But my surgeon suggested a minimum of a 5% weight loss prior to.
So, I know that you've talked a little bit to me in the past about how it's, a lot of people kind of think of it as the easy way or a shortcut. What would you say to somebody who's kind of has that mindset that, this is, we're just going to do this because then I don't have to change anything. I don't have to change my habits or, it's easy.
Right. Absolutely. It is not an easy fix. It is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done. This is a tool. There is no quick fix. I have a friend who had surgery about 2 months before I had mine, and her comment to me afterwards, probably about 6 months afterwards, she said, "I thought this would be easier." Yeah. This is not easy. This is yet a weight management tool that allows you to reduce the amount of food intake and look at the types of foods that you're eating, make changes in terms of the quality and quantity of the food that you are consuming. And it's forever. Yeah. You wake up every single day. This is where I say the mind game, because you wake up every single day, and those cravings, that they're not physical cravings, they're in your head, and you want to eat, whether it's the M&Ms, which is my go-to junk food, as is Melissa's. Those things don't disappear.
Right.
So you have to learn to manage those each and every single day. 2 weeks post-op was rough. I felt awful. You're learning how to eat again. You're learning how much you can eat. Some people throw up after this surgery. To this day can still throw up.
Sure, yes.
I don't generally throw up, but I know the minute I've taken one bite too many or I've eaten too fast.
Sure, the body responds in a negative way.
There's nothing easy about it. It's, this is something permanent. You are making this change in your body, and you need to for me, I had to make a commitment for the rest of my life to change the way I eat and the way I look at food. Food became fuel for my body. Yes. It did not become comfort for me.
All those other things.
That's not to say I don't have my days when I try food.
Oh, sure. This one still eats your feelings once in a while, too. Yeah. I totally understand that. So what would you say, how you talked a little bit about the mental and emotional effects that it had on you. I mean, is there anything else that, you really feel like people should know about that end of it that might be important?
From the mental and the emotional piece of it, sometimes when I look in the mirror, I still see the old me. I think that's one of the things that if I would tell somebody that's considering this, to really embrace each day what they look like, and learn to embrace who you are, and know that over time you will see that different person in the mirror. But that's the hard part, is you still see the pre-op person often. And because we become, in my case, I'd been overweight for so long, and people have made judgments about me based on my weight.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody who is obese knows that, which is one of the reasons I sought you out as a trainer, because you had been formerly obese, and you understood that world. So that's the hard part. You still have, you still struggle
you have
with
to
that.
reconcile who you were with who you're becoming.
Right.
And I think, I don't even, I can see that as being a big thing, having surgery, because you tend to have weight loss fairly quickly. But I think anybody going through the process of becoming a healthier, better version of themselves has to mentally deal with it. And, it's a commitment when you have that surgery. I wish people understood that about just looking for a general better health overall, that it is. It's a lifetime commitment versus, those people that I work with for New Year's resolutions that think 3 months is going to cut it, and then they can go back to the stuff they were doing before. And it's just really not the way that it works, right? That's not the first time I've heard, somebody looks in the mirror and actually can't see themselves. It's kind of a shock to try and reconcile who they are with who they were before. I find that interesting.
And people, some people, not all people, I've had some people treat me differently, and where maybe they hadn't talked to me as much before, hadn't really paid any attention to me. Now it's, oh my gosh, you're so thin, how'd you do it? Now they talk to me all the time. And I know that it's probably not malice that's behind that, but I understand that sometimes it's difficult to realize that people, that's where it comes full circle. People had judged me by my weight, or I'm not really sure why they didn't seek me out.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I totally agree. People treated me so much differently when I was a bigger girl, but that doesn't necessarily be a benefit when you become a healthier, leaner person. I've had people be judgmental about, well, she must be stuck up. She must, this comes easy to her. They don't even seek out the fact that I was a completely different person at one point, and that I've had to change my life and my lifestyle. And I've actually had people be rude, because, maybe they're, what's the word? They're intimidated by me. It's a little frustrating, because our hearts are still the same, right? Our hearts, I just don't get it. But
still the same.
So what would you say, I know you've talked about the difficulties. What would you say was probably the hardest thing about this whole change?
The hardest thing for me in all of this is after you get through the recovery and you start feeling better, and you start getting on a normal eating schedule, you're back to eating normal foods, not just the soft foods or the liquids, is learning how to slow down when you eat. Because if you think about it, when we go to school, when we go to work, we generally have 30 minutes to get lunch, right? Yeah. Or get our meals, or 15-minute breaks. In that period of time, if you go out to get your lunch, or you have to stand in line for it, you've got 10 or 15 minutes that gets knocked out there really quickly. So by the time you get your food, then it's 15 minutes and you're eating before to get back to work or back to school or whatever you're doing.
And that doesn't work.
No. So we're trained with that. And one of the things with the surgery is they tell you need to take 30 minutes to eat.
Okay.
And after 30 minutes, you stop, because you should be full by then. Yeah. Your body has to digest the food. And so for me, that has been the hardest thing. Right. And when I've talked with my dietitian and the surgeon, they tell me that that's the number one thing that the patients come back with, is say, it is so hard for me to eat slow. Yeah. My body will remind me if I don't eat slow, if I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, or I'm having a heart attack. It's very painful across my chest and my back. But and I know that that's related to eating too fast, or eating too much in a bite.
Yeah, your body's just rebelling against it. So do you have any tips for people who are really seriously considering having this surgery?
I do. I make sure you have a support system in place that, if you're thinking about doing this, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a mom, a sister, husband, a significant other, whomever, you need a support system in place, because I cannot imagine not having a support system and going through this, because every person's experience with the surgery and afterwards is different. Definitely. And you need that person to be your cheerleader, because there are days you don't, you just are not going to feel good. But certainly you need to make sure that you're comfortable with your surgeon, that it's a good relationship, that whomever is part of your care team, whether it's dietitians or nurse practitioners, that you feel that they are on your side, that you're connected with them, and that you can access them to ask them questions. Sure. If you are a person who would like it to be in a support group, ask your surgeon or your bariatric center, do you have a support group before and after surgery? Okay. And you really need to stop and think about, am I willing to make the commitment to the changes that need to be made for the rest of my life? Because you can gain the weight back.
Yes, you can.
Because you return to your old habits, the grazing, and it's usually grazing high carbs, low quality food. Yep. Chips, crackers.
Anything processed.
Yeah. Because once you start putting it back into your body starts craving those chemicals again.
Definitely. And the releases of dopamine in the brain, right?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So I would tell you that's, to really if you're not willing to make the commitment, the time might not be right for you.
Definitely. I haven't had the surgery, so I can't necessarily relate to that degree, but, what is it that you need to change now, that the surgery is going to change that for you? If you can you're going to have to make the commitment either way. Do the best you can to make it beforehand, and then if it's necessary, I firmly believe that it's definitely for many people out there. I just think that they have to have the right mindset going into it, and try to make those changes beforehand. It's going to make it a whole lot easier after the fact if you're already ingrained those habits and trying to live a healthier lifestyle as it is. So
and I've said this over and over and over. This is more of a mind game than it is anything else.
Absolutely. Health is.
You've got to get your head right before you can get your body right.
Yes.
And it's an absolute, it's a daily thing. I wake up every day and have to get my head back in the game. Yep. Because it will be, think about it. It took me 30, 40 years to establish those habits. They are not going to go away overnight. Yep. And it's there are some things that are just going to be a lifelong challenge for me, but it is definitely a head game, because if it was easy, nobody would gain the weight back. They'd just get the surgery and life would be good. Yeah.
I agree. So. I've seen it. I've seen it go bad, and I've seen it go really bad. So well, thank you so much, Melinda, for coming tonight and for being willing to be open and share this information. Of course, it's not always easy to share, things that you've done, whether, with privacy or, just being willing to talk about your thoughts and the things that you've been through. Sometimes it's not easy to open yourself up. And it looks like Lorenzo Hill says, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. Yeah, it's, it is. It's all about getting your head right. Even I teach that, physical's the easy part. To be honest, it's the mind and the emotions that we have to work with. We have to get that straight. And I fully agree that, you can't fix your body to fix your head. You have to fix your head to fix your body. It's holistic. It's all together. It's super important. Yeah. So Melinda drove home from Seattle tonight to be here. So we're super grateful for her time and her openness. And of course, I love her. She's amazing. I love working with her. I love kicking her butt.
Yes,
it's a lot of fun. So I thank you. I'm really hoping that somebody out there is hopefully going to make a good decision based on the things that they learned tonight, and not jump into this lightly. So
absolutely.
Thank you, my dear.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.